Hello there, lovely crafters. It's Terry from Vig's Tez Creates here for the Robin's Nest Creative today with a simple tutorial on how to make a clean and simple floral card. So today's make, I'm going to be using some heat embossing, some very basic watercolouring, and then adding some dewdrops to finish off this gorgeous card. So settle back with a cuppa and watch me create this card. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do is to stamp this beautiful floral image here from the Craft Your Life project kit Fluorescence from Altenew. And this is an A6 piece of watercolour card. So I'm going to stamp that in VersaFine Onyx Black ink and heat emboss it, and then I'm going to do some watercolouring with my as yet unused metallic watercolours from again from Altenew. So this should look absolutely stunning. Now, as I'm going to be doing some heat embossing, I'm just going to run my anti-static powder tool over the card panel and then stamp with VersaFine Onyx Black ink, which is really great for detailed images and stays wet enough long enough for you to heat emboss the image. So use my handy little give an air hockey puck, which is really good for sort of getting an even impression. And there we go, that looks gorgeous. So I'm just going to heat emboss that in clear embossing powder off camera, and then I'll come back in a minute and we shall start watercolouring. Okay, so I am absolutely loving the look of these colours. So I'm just going to activate some of them by dropping a bit of water into the ones that I think I want to use. So we're going to go for the leaves first. It's always good to activate your watercolours before you use them to get them ready. Now, I am no expert watercolourist, and you really don't have to be. This is just a fun thing to try out for anybody, really. You don't need a lot of special things. You just need some cards that is suitable for watercolouring and some watercolours, and they don't have to be really expensive ones. I'm just giving this a little wash first. I'm going to go quite loose, really, with the colour, and just try and sort of not overwork it, and see how it flows. Ooh. Great thing about watercolour as well is if anything goes where you don't want it, you can really easily get rid of it just by picking it up with some clean water like that and dabbing it off. So you always want a piece of kitchen roll next to you. So I'm just sort of moving this around a little bit. Paintbrush is a bit wet, and then I'm going to go in with this lighter coloured one here, which I just think is gorgeous. And I say these are metallics, so this should look really pretty. So I've just put a slightly darker green towards the bit where it would have shadow. But as I say, I'm just letting it sort of free flow, really, which is it's interesting for me because I'm not really a free flow kind of person. I do tend to Well, I mean, some people might say I'm a bit of a control freak, but I don't know. I do tend to like to control things, but watercolouring is great for getting out of that habit. So again, I'm just going to put a bit of the darker colour where I think it'll be darkest. And you can see, because I laid down some water first, it's sort of moving around and doing its own thing. And then I'm going to use some more of this beautiful, I think this one's aquamarine, and the darker colour's jade. Just sort of let them mingle together a bit really, and do their own thing. But say, if ever you don't like something, you just dab it with some kitchen towel, and you can lift it straight off. It's just like an eraser. So again, I'm going to use a bit of clean water here. And also by heat embossing the image, it acts as like a little barrier, so it stops, in theory, the water bleeding over into the next bit of the image. So that's quite helpful if you're not that experienced with watercolouring, or you just like to play. This just sort of gives you that bit of extra security. So I'm just going in and adding a bit more vibrancy here and there. And a little bit darker around here. So that's all I'm going to do with this painting portion, is just pick some colours. So I'm going to do the leaves the same, and then pick different colours for the blooms, and just go in, and the parts where I think are darkest, I will either use two versions of the same colour, or if I've only got the one version, I'll just put the darkest, you know, the pure colour there, and then bring it out with some water to dilute it. So what I'm going to do now is put some music on for you and speed up this portion, so you can just sit back and let the creation unfold. And then once all of the painting has been done and dried, I'll come back and we will step it up a notch by adding some beautiful dewdrops. So settle back and enjoy yourself, guys. Okay, so here we have the finished watercolour panel, which I think turned out really well. It's got such a lovely shimmer on it from those metallic paints. If you haven't got any metallic paints, I'd highly recommend getting some. They're so fun to play with, and as you saw, you don't have to be have any particular skills in watercolouring, because I don't. So I trimmed this A6 panel down so that the image sort of comes off the edge of the card, and then I got an A6 card blank in ivory, and then I chose this lovely aqua pearlescent paper to pick out the aqua in the leaves. So I've stuck that onto there with some tape runner, and then I'm just going to glue this panel down. And then I've gone through my little dewdrop stash and looked at different options, and I've come up with just using 3 colours. So yellow and purple for the centre of a couple of the blooms, and just a few gold ones scattered around as well. So that should look really sort of pretty. One of the great things I think about using dewdrops and gems is that you can really use them as like a focal point. So I'll put a link at the end of this video to one of my recent videos where it was all around patterns, and the dewdrops featured really heavily, but you can also just use them as little accent pieces, and that works like equally as well. So they're really versatile. So if you look at these 2 flowers here, that centre's got like an oval shape, so I thought a little teardrop dewdrop would look nice in there. And then for this one, which is more circular, I've gone for one of the larger round dewdrops. And then for the purple blooms, I thought I would pop a small pale purple, like a lilac, just in the centre of each of the blooms. So again, it's like you can see them and they add something, but they're not like really in your face blingy. And then I just thought a few little gold dewdrops, because obviously there is gold in here, and I think gold is a nice sort of one of those colours that tends to go with everything really. So that is my plan. So I'm going to get my fine tipped glue bottle, because everything's easier when it's got a fine tip when you're using doing detail work, and just adhere these gems, and then that card is complete. So it's actually been quite a quick card to pull together, because I really didn't spend like lots and lots of time on the watercolouring. And you know, it was just quite relaxing. It didn't take me that long. I think it took about an hour, if that. And then I just left it overnight, and then today came and decided how I wanted to actually pull the card together and what paper I wanted to use in terms of a matte layer. And I think the thing that took me the longest actually in pulling this card together, tell me if you think this is odd, is choosing the sentiment. Because I think it's always good to have a lot of birthday cards in your stash, because I often find either me or someone else will need one, and then I've got, you know, a plethora of pretty ones to choose from. But you know, this card, like just a floral card, could be for any occasion really. But it was choosing the right sized sentiment for this area, because I still wanted there to be quite a bit of white space. So this would still come under the category of like a CAS card or a clean and simple card. So if you're trying to sort of have a go at making cast cards where you just decorate a portion of the card front, this would be a good example of a floral cast card because there's lots of white space. So I hope you've enjoyed today's tutorial. Please feel free to leave me any comments or questions in the comment section below. In the description box I will link to some of the dewdrop mixes that have these colours in, and I'll also link to the Robin's Nest socials and the Facebook group that you can join and share your own crafty makes in, and I'll also link to my own personal socials as well, Terry from Vegs Tez Creates, if you want to come and have a look at more of my work that isn't for the Robin's Nest Creative. But other than that, I'll see you again in 2 weeks time with some more crafty inspiration. Bye for now.